How would you feel? It is wrong for people to believe that Canada has one of the greatest policing systems throughout the entire world. Our country is guilty when it comes to the lack of solved or progressive investigations regarding missing and murdered Indigenous women and children. I cannot understand this. Do people, especially the police who are supposed to protect our citizens of Canada and be stewards of peace, just not care? Is it because of racism toward Indigenous people? I thought this country was meant to be free, welcoming, and accepting, no matter if you're black, white, or Aboriginal. Clearly this is not the case. People might think I'm over-exaggerating, right? Well, according to the words of Bellegarde, the First Nations National Chief Perry, as he expresses his honesty to the Royal Canadian Mounted Police by saying, "You guys didn't do an adequate job. You didn't put enough human and financial resources into the research and the investigation surrounding all of these cases involving First Nations women." What Bellegarde is saying is that the police basically believe that whenever there is a case involving a Native person, they should do nothing about it. This is a disgrace for all Canadians. We should care more for Natives, especially since they were on this land first, and then the land was stolen from them. Time and time again, we have done terrible things, especially when it comes to stereotypes, the Indian Act, and worst of all, residential schools. We should be doing more for Indigenous people. Even the Canadian government has commented on the delays in responding to reports regarding missing Indigenous women and children, proving there is systematic racism involved in how officers treat Indigenous women, children, and their families. Statistics show that over 1,200 Indigenous women have gone missing or been murdered between 1980 and 2012, and that's not counting children and men. People need to understand that there are lives on the line. An example of this issue can be seen in the Jennifer Catchway case. Jennifer Catchway was a Native woman on her way home to Manitoba's Portage-la-Prairie to celebrate her 18th birthday, but she never showed up. What's crazy about this is that she's been missing since June 19, 2008, and her family has never received one phone call or any communication from the police since the incident. You can imagine what the family has gone through emotionally since she went missing. In October 2017, her family spoke at the Missing and Murdered Indigenous Women Inquiry hearings in Winnipeg, testifying that the Royal Canadian Mounted Police did not handle this case properly, and that they don't even know which detective has been assigned this case. At this point, what can the Catchway family do? Who can they trust to help them? It seems to me that they obviously cannot trust the highest level of police in Canada, so it clearly shows that hope is lost for them. Police departments across Canada have been getting a failing grade for their efforts in solving cases of missing and murdered Indigenous women and children, according to 110 families who were interviewed by the CBC. One question that the CBC asked was to rate the Canadian police system out of 10. The sad thing is that the average result from these families were 2.8. A quote which was said by Maria Pia Banu, whose best friend, Henrietta Milik, who disappeared from St. John's in 1982, says, "I feel like the police are not taking interest in anything that has anything to do with Aboriginal people." To this day, we still do not know what had happened to her best friend. We are still wondering why this is constantly happening. Everyone on Earth is equal no matter if you are Indigenous or not. The government clearly does not care about this problem, because our country has been facing this for hundreds of years, and nothing has changed. The lack of investigating should be considered as a crime on the police's part, and everyone who is guilty of it should be fired. In my opinion, this issue is happening to Natives because of racism. Some people today still believe that Indigenous people are primitive and are not as important as white Canadians. The Catchway family must be devastated. Imagine you are about to celebrate a birthday party and you expect family members to show up, but instead they go missing. That is why the police should rethink about these problems. How would they feel if this would happen to them? The lack of solved or progressive investigations regarding missing and murdered Indigenous women and children is an issue worth addressing, as it can cause harm for many Indigenous women and children. Thank you very much for listening to my speech.